Hi, and welcome to another episode of The Lamp in the Library. I'm Graham.
I'm Kim.
And today we're going to be talking about a book that we both read. It's called Piranesi by Susanna Clarke, who is most famous for the book Jonathan Strange and Mr. Norrell, which was written in the early aughts but has since become a bona fide classic of the fantasy genre. And she did not follow up this masterwork until this year with Piranesi, a much shorter book. We both read it, and we're going to tell you what we thought about it.
And just a heads up, we're not going to be sharing any spoilers about the book itself. We'll be just telling you if we enjoyed it and maybe a little bit about themes within the book. But after that, we're going to also be sharing books that we would recommend you read when you finish Piranesi if you really liked Piranesi. But you may, if you haven't read Piranesi yet, want to stop the video after we say if we liked it or not, just so you don't learn too much about the book by listening to our recommendations.
Yeah, so I think this is the type of book that it's actually good to go in with very little knowledge. Because the mysteries in this book slowly reveal themselves over the course of the book, so why spoil the fun? It is a slight read. I read it over the course of a weekend, not just because it's short, but because it's so engrossing. It's the kind of book that you can't put down. She's really good at making the novel a page-turner. She, with her much larger Jonathan Strange and Mr. Norrell, it was the same effect. So she's very effective at doing that. But clearly a meticulously researched world in terms of the world building. And, just the briefest of synopses with this book, it features a character who is known as Piranesi, who lives in a labyrinth. And I really was attracted to the character of Piranesi because he is so pure-hearted. Mm-hmm. And I think that's refreshing because in a lot of, the fantasy genre, especially right now, there's so much of a focus on like dark and gritty characters. So it's nice to have someone who's like, this kind of like innocent, holy fool type character. Mm-hmm. You just wanted him to succeed and find happiness in his life. And that was really compelling. And, I thought this book was fantastical in, both senses of the word. Mm-hmm. Highly recommend it. What did you think, Kim?
Yeah, I also loved Piranesi. I think a couple videos back, I mentioned how I'd finished it and devoured it. I read it really quick. I recommend that maybe you clear a little time in your schedule when you pick it up, because there's a point you'll hit in the novel where you are not going to want to put it down, and you don't want to disappoint anyone if you have Zoom plans or something. So just clear that timetable, pick it up, let yourself get fully engrossed in it. I agree with Graham. It's this a wonderful world that's built. You get totally engrossed in it, and part of the magic of the book is the way that world invites you in and then slowly unveils its secrets to you. That's why you don't want to give too much away about it before someone reads it. I also really adored the character of Piranesi, and that's why you get so involved in the book. I found there was a point where I got choked up and teary-eyed just because of who Piranesi is, the vision of life that I felt like Piranesi presents, and I couldn't recommend it highly enough. I think that Susanna Clarke is just a wonderful, wonderful writer, and this is a really great book to read right now as well. It's another one of those books that's just, it's almost magical that it came out at a time when it almost feels like the world needs it the most. So I definitely hope that if this piques your interest, you pick up Piranesi and read it.
Yeah, I think there's a uniqueness to the fantasy world that it was refreshing. And it was just a really engrossing read. And very meticulously researched, much like Jonathan Strange and Mr. Norrell. You can tell that she put a lot of, work on the back end in terms of this one to bring it to life.
Yeah, I think you can tell it. She probably, some of the research that she did with Jonathan Strange and Mr. Norrell, more into esoteric knowledge, mysticism, occultism. I think that there's concepts that she was aware of that she brings into this book. I won't say which because I don't want to give anything away, but I definitely could see okay, there's a certain concept that she's building upon that does exist in these schools of thought, but she still takes that seed and makes it her own, which is really wonderful, really, really wonderful. Which again, that's why it makes it new and interesting, because it's building upon some concepts that already exist.
Let's talk about the art for a little bit. Beautiful cover.
Gorgeous.
But here's the amazing thing. This hardcover edition, when you take the jacket off, even better. I don't know if you can see that. Absolutely gorgeous. And then on the inside, a really good job. So kudos to the art directors on this book as well. They did a really fantastic job, and it really fits with the themes of the book. So
yeah,
well done.
I love it when publishers put those extra details in, because they know that people who love to read physical books really appreciate a beautifully designed book.
Yeah, and I feel like this book is for people who appreciate, reading and books that are, well researched and well written, and it's about lore and books and history and.
Yeah, that's true.
It's a book for bookworms.
Yeah, you're right, actually. Yeah, so pick up Piranesi. So now we're going to move on to recommending some reads. So again, if you haven't read Piranesi yet, stop the video now, just in case if we might by accident give away another theme within the book or something, and go pick up Piranesi instead. But for those who maybe have read Piranesi and loved it and want something to read, Graham, what would you recommend?
First of all, I'd recommend this book by Gene Wolfe. It's called Latro in the Mist. It's actually an omnibus version of combining two novels, Soldier of the Mist and Soldier of Arete. Anyway, this follows a soldier in ancient Greece who receives a head injury and has no long-term memory. So he's going through a life as a soldier, not able to remember anything, kind of like Memento, the Memento character in that movie Memento. But this was written before that movie came out. So, but also with his injury, he has the ability to see and interact with the gods of his world. So the kind of ancient world gods of ancient Greece. So he's interacting with those supernatural characters and has no short-term memory, long-term memory, and he's going through this kind of fantastical ancient Greece. And he's like the Piranesi character. He's kind of like this holy fool. There's this innocence to the character, and his interacting with the world. And he has to go back through his copious notes to figure out what he's doing and where he is in life. And it's like Piranesi, meticulously researched, really unique world building. So I highly recommend, if you like Piranesi, check out Gene Wolfe's Soldier of the Mist.
So the book I'm going to recommend is, I went with the thread of sort of the magical world that you have within Piranesi, and again with some of those esoteric thought and characters and stuff, and went with recommending The Master and Margarita by Mikhail Bulgakov. This book is another one. I think it's really fun if you read and you don't know too much about it, so that you can allow the world that's created within it to open itself up to you, but just a little bit. There's the devil within it, there's witches, there's this cat, which is a really fun character in the book. The author wrote it during Stalin's reign, but it actually wasn't published until after his death, and even at that time was still censored, and it took a while for really the whole book to come out, and that's because there's definitely some social commentary being made throughout the book. And I think that that's a little bit of a tie to Piranesi as well, because I felt that within Piranesi there's definitely commentary being made on how we can relate to the world that we live in through the character of Piranesi. And within Piranesi, there's this beautiful vision given. The Master and Margarita gets a little more darker, I'd say, than Piranesi, but it's a really wonderful book, and kudos again to really good book design, because this is really gorgeous.
Another author I would highly recommend if you enjoyed Susanna Clarke's Piranesi is Jorge Luis Borges. He is a famous Argentinian author, famous for his short stories, all of which are collected in this particular volume, Collected Fictions of Borges. Yeah, he did a lot for the fantasy genre with a literary bent, I suppose. Highly influential to authors like Umberto Eco and Gene Wolfe, who I already mentioned, and of course Susanna Clarke, I'm sure, is influenced by him as well, because he is obsessed with the idea of labyrinths in his fiction. So that's a theme that comes up again and again and again. Yeah, he's the master of the fantasy short story. So if you enjoyed Piranesi and want to enter more labyrinthine worlds, do pick up some Borges.
So I decided to share what I'm reading right now because I was inspired by Piranesi's world, and I kind of wanted to stay with that feel of magic and unknown and esoteric knowledge. And it being October, spiritualism is in the air, and spiritualism is a religion that believes that we can communicate with spirits of the beyond. And so that is why I decided to pick up The Witch of Lime Street, which is a non-fiction telling of this woman who was a very popular medium, and people really believed that she was authentic because there were a lot of charlatans at the time. This is like at the height of spiritualism's popularity. And one of her biggest fans was actually the author Arthur Conan Doyle. It's hard to say the two together. He really believed in her, and he encouraged her to enter this contest being put on by Scientific America to see if they could find a true psychic, a true medium. And one of the judges is Houdini.
Whoa.
And so it tells the story of what led up to this and then what happened at their sort of mystical showdown. So I'm really looking forward to learning more about this, and it just seemed to fit in the vein of getting into a magical world, except this one is actually nonfiction. So The Witch of Lime Street. Seems good for Halloween.
Okay, well, we hope you enjoy the rest of your Spooktober. We're going to have one more episode before the end of the month. So keep well.
And keep reading.
Bye.
Bye.